Hello everyone and welcome to this new episode of The Kaiser's Kitchen. Berlin, summer 1883. Anyone visiting the capital this season heads straight to the hygiene exhibition, as Berliner called the General German Exhibition on Hygiene and Life-Saving Systems. Anyone with a Baedeker guide on their hand or just curious about the future makes the trip. Over 90,000 square meters are packed with what's meant to shape tomorrow. Antiseptic tools, public baths, ambulances, disinfecting devices, and among them a pavilion with massive stoves, streaming broths, and a meat which is not meat. This is the grandstand of Carne Pura, a company that promises nothing less than a revolution in everyday nutrition. Meat for everyone, long-lasting, healthy, and modern. But this pavilion isn't just a curiosity. It's part of a much bigger shift that runs through the whole 19th century. The move from traditional eating to nutrition based on science, technology, and social ambition. So, the story of Carne Pura belongs to a wider idea. The roots of this idea go back even to the early 1840s. In Munich, chemist Justus von Liebig was working on what he saw as the essential components of food. He boiled meat, filtered it, reduced it, and actually created the first meat extract, made to strengthen the sick, the poor, and the soldiers. It was indeed made and meant for everyone. But this extract was more a flavoring than real nutrition, since it barely contained any protein or fat. But very soon, other leading scientists of that time, like Carl Boyd, a pioneer in nutritional physiology, or Julius Lehmann, an expert in medical chemistry, began to explore how to understand and preserve all the nutritional values in meat, not just its taste. By the late 1870s, these led to industrial trials with meat flour, dried, ground, fat-free beef. And this is where Carne Pura's stories actually begin. The company was formed in 1881 in Hamburg as a stock corporation. Its founders believed that global trade, especially via Argentina, and modern nutrition science could make large-scale, storable meat products for hospitals, schools, the army, and the poor. In December of 1881, the company moved to Bremen. In 1882, production started in Buenos Aires under Heinrich Hollmann, a Bremen merchant with ties to Liebig's extract trade. He converted facilities in Argentina to produce dried meat for the company. The meat powder was then packed and shipped to Germany. In 1882, a new board for Carne Pura was elected. One member was Ludwig Gottfried Dies, a merchant and co-founder of the German National Bank. The company was formally registered in Berlin later that year, although the patent for the meat powder was already filed in 1877, as based on the inventions of Professor Hoffmann and Dr. Meinert. Carne Pura made the headlines not only because of its scientific vision, but also for its PR strategy. Ads focused on hygiene and efficiency, newspapers ran stories, and samples were sent to many institutions. But inside the company, tensions grew. Some, like von Gerschow, left the company after just 1 year, frustrated by weak sales and internal disputes. The product on itself was complete. It kept the protein, the fat, and the minerals of real beef. It was made to replace fresh meat in schools, barracks, hospitals, and homes. Its founders saw Carne Pura not just as food, but more of a social project. In spring 1882, Carne Pura donated food worth 10,000 marks to help the victim of the Rhine flood. Mobile soup kitchens distributed it, and the press reported on it. It was humanitarian, but also very smart PR. In 1882 and 1883, the company ramped up efforts. Public talks, medical reviews, and trials in prisons, hospitals, and schools. But doubts remained. Was it tasty? Was it digestible? Well, on paper, yes, but in practice, less convincing. Well, that's where the big stage comes. Berlin's hygiene exhibition of 1883. Carne Pura's pavilion was dazzling. It's reported to have had 12 electric lamps, enamel kettles, and golden stoves even. Free hot food was served for every visitor interested. The official catalogue of the exhibition listed meat powder, meat vegetable brand, meat bread soup, coffee with meat extract, and Carne Pura with cocoa and chocolate. They served those preparations on Mondays and Thursdays from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. with brochures and live demonstrations. A key figure of those demonstrations was Frau Auguste Cooks, a well-known cookbook author of that time. Back in 1879, Auguste and her daughter Lina opened a cooking school at their homes in Bahnhofstraße 20 in Hanover. The same year of the exhibition, she published then a cookbook especially made for carne pura with 187 recipes. Also, Lena Cooks was at the exhibition, cooking and talking to the visitors. Despite all that, the product didn't catch on. Although affordable and hygienic, people just didn't want it. Physiologist Gustav von Norton tried using carne pura in his nutritional studies. He liked its consistency. But just after a few days, his test subjects couldn't stand it anymore and didn't want to eat more of it. After 1883, things got even worse. Orders dropped, the military wasn't interested, and internal fights grew. And if that wasn't bad enough, public opinion turned. Meat powder sounded more like science fiction than dinner. No big army contracts came, hospitals didn't adopt it, and regular households struggled with the idea of meat powder replacing the meat they knew. By 1886, the company was in true financial troubles. In 1887, it was even liquidated in Berlin. Pans, stoves, leftover powder, all sold off. Some of the products were even sold in small portions by local agents. A trade journal even joked about the fact that shareholders did have to endure a lot of mockery over the preserves. Even the brass stove from the exhibition was auctioned, and the press reported it with some irony. So with that, the grand idea of carne pura has failed. In 1892, the trademark was finally erased, carne pura was gone. A symbol of ambition, science and reform was therefore undone by taste, cost and doubt. Carne pura is today forgotten, but Auguste Cook's cookbook still remains. So what are we cooking today? Instead of Auguste's famous soup, we're cooking today white cabbage with meat powder. A warm and rustic dish that might have appeared on a middle-class household in 1883 Germany. To prepare this recipe, you will need following ingredients. 1 head of white cabbage, medium-sized, 2 tablespoons of patent meat powder, today I'm using more than bone powder, 1 piece of well-rendered beef fat, 1 teaspoon of salt or to taste, a few peeled potatoes, a teaspoon of washed caraway seeds, a little flour mixed with cold water for thickening. Remove the other damaged leaves from the cabbage, cut it into quarters or eighths depending on size, remove the core and wash thoroughly. Boil the cabbage in water until soft, then put into a strainer and let it drain well. In the same unwashed pot, add fresh boiling water, then beef fat, salt and 2 tablespoons of meat powder per cabbage. Then bring it to a boil. Return the drained cabbage to the pot, add the peeled potatoes and, if desired, the caraway seeds. Let everything cook together until the potatoes are tender. Finally, stir in a little flour mixed with cold water to slightly thicken the dish. A hearty historic meal, simple, nutritious and full of forgotten flavors. It tastes good. Well, now I'm also curious about the broth, and for that I'm gonna need a spoon. Bear with me. Spoon? Well, overall that's a pretty tasty cabbage soup. The meat powder and the beef fat kind of give a nice kick to the whole dish. And the cabbage is soft and sweet, and the potatoes are also soft, and they give kind of a earthy undertone to the whole dish. Well, this is of course no fine dinner, but it's what middle-class family would have had on their tables in the 1880s, and also low-class families. Well, since overall I really like this dish, I'm gonna give it 6.5 out of 10 Kaiser points. What strikes me the most about Carne Pura is the sheer ambition behind it. The belief that science, industry and cooking could come together to improve lives. Stories like this remember us that the kitchen was never merely a place of nourishment, but of vision, belief and enduring hunger for progress. But for now, I'm gonna leave you with this beautiful dish and with this intriguing story. Thank you for watching and see you next time on The Kaiser's Kitchen.